Connection is a core human need, and music has the power to build strong social connections. Just think about it for a minute. Many of us are living extremely busy and hectic lifestyles, and due to that extreme busyness, we are also living lives that are growing increasingly detached. Detached from ourselves, detached from others. And while we may be living in the same roof with our families, many of us are living separate lives, and social bonds are slowly weakening. The results are greater levels of social isolation and loneliness, and unprecedented levels of negative impact on our mental health that have only been escalated due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, social media has allowed us to enjoy a plethora of superficial social connections. And while many of us here, I'm sure, have hundreds, if not thousands, of friends on Facebook, what we don't have are as many core relationships and deep, meaningful human interactions. As a music therapist who works in mental health, it is without a doubt that we see mental health needs escalating, on the rise. And what is important is that music ultimately has the potential and power to remedy that problem. So we suffer when we lack depth in our social connections. And research shows us that people who don't experience strong human connections are more likely to suffer from depression, anxiety disorders, and various other ailments of the body and mind. What we have also found is that deep, meaningful human interactions have the power to heal chaos and confusion that we inevitably experience in our daily social interactions. And ultimately, it is able to decrease those levels of social isolation and anxiety, but also when these social connections are enhanced by music, facilitated by music, it promotes feelings of oneness, togetherness, as well as promotes unity and solidarity. Music therapy is an evidence-based allied health that actively applies scientific knowledge to stimulate, support human functioning. But it also increases quality of social connections. What we've also found is, of course, music therapy is built on decades of evidence-based research that also harness the therapeutic potential of music to establish rapport and also to enhance our social connections. So how can music therapy help build social connections? One thing is for sure, music is present in all societies. And we also find that music is often a shared social activity, and many music activities involve people working together, whether it's playing in a band, in the orchestra, or singing in a choir. Music increases synchrony as we coordinate our movements and we cooperate to produce beautiful musical results, but it also releases endorphins, those pleasure-giving chemicals that create warm feelings of fuzziness as we work together. And it releases endorphins that help to build trust as well as feelings of intimacy. Now, many of you probably know mothers love to sing lullabies to their babies. And that is actually one of the ways that we increase oxytocin that also improves bonding. So music impacts our brain circuits in all these wonderful ways. It builds empathy, that's a big one. I wish I had more time to share that with you in detail. Trust, cooperation, helps us to achieve a sense of harmony and resonance, as well as develop our own theory of mind, as we seek to better understand the people around us, as well as to anticipate their needs. And of course, music provides opportunities for us to increase contact with others and also bond through our shared musical preferences. Now, music can also build social connection in times of acute trauma, such as a war crisis. One of the things that I'm really privileged to do is to work with the World Federation of Music Therapy. And we have seen in many vivid ways how music is able to establish social connections that transcend time, space, geographical regions. And at the moment, with the work that we're doing in Ukraine, we're trying to provide therapeutic support to ease the suffering and to figure out ways to actually help to cater to the needs of the millions of refugees, 6.6 million to date. And many of them are now in shelters, in school settings, in refugee camps, and there are music therapists catering to their psychological needs. We integrate psychological first aid with music therapy to offer them the kind of trauma support, acute care that they need to just cope with this unimaginable war crisis. The work in Ukraine has also opened up our awareness of the need to cater to other refugee groups. And so we have been expanding our outreach to groups in Myanmar, as well as those who are affected by drug cartels and drug wars in Colombia and Argentina. So this is just a glimpse of what is happening inside Ukraine, which I'm sure many of you have been following the news. And you are aware that all the men between the ages of 18 and 50 have been consigned to be soldiers overnight, many of them without training. At the same time, we also know that the women and children who have been left behind or were still being forced to flee from their country in order to run away from the war have also ended up in these refugee shelters. And right now, 9 out of 10 of these refugees are either women, children, or elderly people. And we know there's a lot of risk of gender-based violence, as well as trafficking and abuse. That's one of the major concerns right now with the UNHCR. And what we are trying to do is to actually offer support through music therapy, which provides armies of music therapists. We have music therapists working in more than 8 countries surrounding Ukraine who are offering music therapy crisis support. This is one of the initiatives that we started as soon as we heard that there was a war. We actually sent out urgent messages of communication and tried to find out what was happening in Ukraine, what was the situation, and immediately mobilize support under the World Federation. So these wonderful faces, as you can see on the poster, are some of the best experts in the field of war trauma and refugee crisis, including Barbara Els, who is an advisor to the American Red Cross, as well as we have Liz Coombs, who works with Palestinian refugees and has tremendous experience catering to their needs. We also have Mitzi Akonyudiglo, who works extensively with refugees who have temporarily transitioned in Greece, and Mireya Gonzalez, who has been doing a lot of crisis support in South America. Next slide, please. This is the second initiative that the World Federation of Music Therapy collaborated with the International Choral Conductors Federation, as well as with the International Kodai Society. And what we did was effectively, we curated folk songs from Ukraine. Because one thing that we knew could reach the refugees in the camps and could offer some level of comfort, preservation of their identity and their sense of who they were as a people, even as they were forced to flee, was songs. Songs from the culture, songs from the childhood. And so we were very thankful for the partnership of these international organizations that worked really hard with us to not only collect and to curate those songs, but at the heart of it was a Ukrainian conductor who was still trapped inside Ukraine. And she refuses to leave simply because she wants to stay back and she wants to preserve the culture and the heritage of the Ukrainian people and prevent it from being erased as a result of the military invasion. You will hear a little bit from her towards the end of my presentation. This was the third initiative that is ongoing, and this involves the preparation as well as the construction of ukuleles that will be shipped to the Ukrainian refugees in camps, shelters, school settings, because many of them right now are so traumatized, they can't make sense of what is going on, and many are young children. And you can imagine how confusing this situation must be. So the Ukulele Kids Club actually is collaborating with the World Federation, and they are the ones that are helping us to not just procure and be able to ship the ukulele is over, but the first shipment alone will be more than 1,000 ukuleles. And these ukuleles will be given to the refugee children. They will be taught to sing their folk songs and be able to sing these songs with their families as a means to help them to protect and preserve their culture. One thing is for certain, even while the military action traumatizes and destroys the physical infrastructure of Ukraine, and they are threatening genocide at the moment, they will not be able to destroy the spirit and the soul of the Ukrainian people. And what we are trying to do in the World Federation is to help to uplift them and remember them and provide that international support to enable them to preserve their culture and to celebrate the beauty and the soul of the Ukrainian people. So the next slide actually is going to be a short video from this wonderful Ukrainian conductor, Ms. Oksana Suketsa, and I would like you to listen carefully to her words.
Hello, my name is Oksana Suketsa. I'm Ukrainian and I speak to you from Ukraine. I'm a conductor and lecturer at a university in a small town woman in the center of Ukraine. Today, Ukrainians are going through our hardships and suffering, but we will survive because we are unbreakable. Despite the fact that the enemy is inflicting devastating blows across the country in order to destroy not only people and infrastructure, but the nation as a whole. More than 100 educational institutions were completely destroyed. About 1,500 were partially destroyed. More than 250 cultural institutions were destroyed. Libraries, museums, churches, and other objects. Some of them were completely destroyed, some partially, some looted. I know that an international charity Ukulele Kids Club has helped thousands of children around the world to overcome the stress and anxiety. And today, Ukrainian children are need your help like never before. Music heals, and musical instrument can become a friend for them, which will comfort in the most difficult moments. We really appreciate the support of the whole world, all people of goodwill, and we hold on because we are together and help each other. Thank you.
So I asked permission from Oksana to be able to share that video with you. And what I encourage each and every one of us to do is please do not forget that there is a war that is still ongoing. I think at the beginning, when we were all very shocked by the events that surrounded the invasion of Ukraine, it was easy for us to remember. And there were so many groups that were actually trying to step forward to help Ukraine. But over time, as we have gotten back to the business of our own lives, I think we have also started to forget that there is still a war ongoing. If you are interested to know more about music therapy and the crisis intervention work that we are doing in Ukraine to support all those who have been affected by war, and by all those, we also mean those people in Russia, the Belarusians, the Chechens, the ordinary citizens like you and me who are as much victims of this insane war. And I appreciate if you have any questions when we have the saloon later, I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you so much for your time and for listening to my sharing about music therapy. Thank you.